Okay, so yesterday we learned about some basics of keyframes. We will see detailedly about them. So we will understand about one more option we are going to learn now is about CSS animations. We call these as CSS animations. Yesterday we learned 2D and 3D effects and how to handle CSS animations. Actually, to handle CSS animations, two options are there. So we have keyframes. Keyframes are used to define animation effects. Keyframes are used to define animation effects. And animation attributes are used to apply and configure keyframes to any element. Animation attributes are used to apply and configure keyframes to any element. That means actually we have two steps. So generally now one general question here is, what is meant by keyframe? What is the meaning of keyframe? Yesterday already I told you, actually what is keyframe? So one frequently asked question is, what is keyframe? Answer is, for this, animations are designed by using frames. First point is, animations are designed by using frames. Second point, usually animation contains 30 frames FPS, right? Frames per second. Or 60 FPS. Animation contains 30 frames per second or 60 frames per second. And frames are two types. Generally, frames are two types in animation. One is we have static frame. Another we have keyframe. Generally, these are animation words actually. That means people who learn some animation softwares, they know about these words, keyframes, static frames. Static frame means in that frame, object will be there, but without any animation. That means no change in shape, no change in size, or no change in position. An object will be there, but without any effects. Sometimes we want, that means, for example, I will tell you here. Technically, I will tell you. Suppose we are designing frames. Suppose this is one frame. So this is another frame, and this is another frame. Now, suppose, means I am explaining you what is meant by static frame. Suppose we have like some effects. So we drawn like this something. That means we are drawing some shape, objects, something like this. We are drawing some shape and object. This is some background we drawn. And what happens is, So this background, what we have to do is we have to keep in every frame. So this background, this is the background we are keeping in every frame. That means this background will be same on every frame. It will not change. So then this is static frame. Static frame means the same object, no change in position, no change in shape, size, but it will continue in every frame. Without changing, without having any animation, it will continue. Now what happened is, so we have one object here. Suppose we are having some object here. Suppose we are having some object here. Some object is here. So we are having some objects here like this. Now what happens is, in the first frame, this is here. First frame, this is here. In second frame, it is here. In third frame, it is here like this. That means now this object looks like it is moving from left to right. That means in this, generally graphics are designed like this. So we will have static frames and we have keyframes. Now the background, what you designed, is repeating everywhere, but not changing. Then it is static frame. And if it is repeating, but changing, size or position or something is changing, then we call it as keyframe. So we are designing static frame keyframes. Here in CSS, we don't have any static frame. So here we have only keyframes. Static frame is nothing but if you don't give keyframe, it is static frame. If keyframes are not defined, it will act as a static frame. So generally, static frame will not define any animation for element. Static frame will not define any animation for element. That means here it is unchanged. So keyframe will define animation for element. That means it changes. So this changes according to time interval. It changes according to time interval. That means in 4 seconds, it should be here. In 5 seconds, it should be here. So it should be in this shape, size. All such things we define by using keyframes. So keyframe is that. Keyframe is the combination here. So two types of options are there, keyframes and animation. Keyframe is defined in this way, how we configure the keyframes. So syntactically, keyframe is defined in this way. @keyframes and any reference name. You can give any reference name and it will have different states actually. This is initial state. Initial state, what effects you want. And we have final state, what effects you want. You have to define like this. Already I told you that you can define state in between. In between also how it should be. You can configure that. So in between how you want it, you can configure. Now how to apply this keyframe to any element. to apply this keyframe to any element, then we have to use selector, and to the selector by using animation name, we have to use the reference name. So that means by using the property animation name, you have to apply the reference name. Reference name is nothing but this is the keyframe name. Reference name means keyframe reference name. Which name you given for keyframe, that is the reference name. That is the reference name. So this is how we define the animation. Now here initial state. So this is from. Final state, this is to. Intermediate state, so that is in percent or pixels. Percents or pixels you have to define. So intermediate state we have to configure with percent or pixels. So initial state, final state, and intermediate state. That's how we configure. Let's see now one example how to manage this. Let's open the project here. I'm configuring here. This is application. And in this, how to define the animation, let's see. First, you can apply for anything. Suppose we are having some heading. And in that we defined, suppose, welcome to CSS, heading close. Okay. Now we want to configure some animations for that heading. So heading, paragraph, anything, images, tables, wherever you want to apply the animation effect. The first step, we have to create keyframes. So that is done by using @keyframes. And the reference name, what is the reference name? Suppose I given reference name as heading effects. Heading effects is the reference name. You can use any reference name. Okay. Now here, how you want the animation. For example, I want initial state. Initial state is defined by using from. So margin left, as I given 100%. And 2. So margin left. Here I defined as, suppose, 0%. That is the heading effects. Heading effect is defined from and to. Now that is only the change in the position. It is applying only margins. You can use all your effects, scale, rotate, skew, whatever 2D, 3D animations you have learned. So this is now the image displayed there. Now we want to apply that effect to this heading. Then what we have to do is just we have to configure the selector. Selector is heading 1. Same what you have learned in transition. We have to apply here in animation. That means to apply the effects, So animation attributes, what you have to use is the animation attributes you have to use animation name, animation duration, animation delay. Same like transition duration, transition delay. And we have like animation property, transition property, same. And animation direction. So others I will show you. Actual point is animation name indicates, it refers to the keyframe name. Duration is, so animation time. Delay is delay time to start animation. Delay time to start animation. How much time it should delay to start animation. Property, that means properties to effect. Direction, animation direction. Animation direction is nothing but right, left, like mark your direction we are having. So while defining the animations, we have this. By using these attributes, we have to apply the effects. For example, now initially I'm using only this. For heading 1, so animation name. The animation name is the name of the animation. Animation name is heading effects. Heading effects like this. Okay. Now that is the animation name. Once you apply that animation name, that means that effect should apply here. Now we have one more option to define. What is that option to define? From margin left to margin right. To margin left to margin right, what are the effects to configure? Why it is not applying? Where we applied heading effects name, correct? Margin left, so 100%. What happened? Size, margin left, it should work na. Any name, spellings, animation, duration. Duration is suppose 3 seconds. I give an animation duration 3 seconds. Now it is fine. Yeah, if it is happening within a second, When we go refresh and see, it is finished. That is the reason. And for the body section, what we will do, overflow hidden. Okay. So now it will be like this. So that means it is displaying only once that effect will come and display. Now you can add all your animation effects and options. Already I showed you yesterday. That means you can change height, you can change width, you can use rotate, you can use skew. All these options you can configure. So yesterday what we done, suppose we are currently I am applying for text. Suppose we are having an image source is equal to, so it is from assets, in assets some shirt.jpg. So width and height. We want to apply effect for this. So here I am giving the name as some image effects. And here we have to apply for the image. Then what options you have to define? IMG. So for IMG, we have to specify animation name. Animation name is image effects. And animation duration. Animation duration is some 3 seconds. And we also have options like animation delay, animation property. Those already we learned. Here one more option is animation direction. Direction I will give as alternate direction it will go. We have reverse direction, we have alternate. So when you are defining the direction, so the direction can be defined as a direction have attributes like reverse and alternate. Animation direction can be reverse and alternate. Another option here is we can use animation iteration count. How many times? You can give as infinite. So animation iteration count indicates how much time you want. Animation, how many times you want. Iteration count. That means the number of times to display. So the number of times to display. You can give infinite or count in number, or you can define infinite. Animation iteration count. You also have animation timing function. Already yesterday I told you. Animation timing functions are nothing but predefined functions, predefined effects, right? Like predefined effects means what are the effects we have, like ease in. So we have like steps, we have ease out. All these are predefined animation effects. You can apply ready-made effects or you can give your own. So yesterday we saw that we can give ready-made effects by using animation timing function. So animation name, animation duration, delay, property, direction, and all this. Here we given it. Animation duration 3 seconds, animation direction alternate, count infinite. Then it will display in this way. From left to right, right to left, it is changing in this way. It is changing in this way. Now, as I already told you, if you want to adjust in between intermediate, then what you can do, you can give here as 50%. When it goes to 50%, then I want to define height as suppose 300 pixel and width also 300 pixel. That means when it go to 50%, it will be in this way. That means at the half size, it will be in this way. It will be in this way. And when it goes to, suppose, when it goes to 80%, when it goes to 80%, I want this to transform, rotate by 30 degree. Transform, rotate by 30 degree. When it go to 80%, then it will be like this. That means when it go to 80%, then it will be 30 degree rotating. Suppose I want it to rotate. So here, as at 30% or say 20%, at 20% also, it should transform, rotate as 30 degree. That means in both directions, it will be in this way. So in both directions, it will be in this way. So we can configure the animation effects. And then when it becomes 50%, I given as transform, rotate as 360 degree. Like this, we are giving the effect. Now it will be in this way. That means it will add various effects and it will display with those effects. That means we need to configure at which stage, how it should appear. It can be height, it can be width, it can be position, it can be rotating. You can add all these effects. We are just giving for image. You can give for text, you can give for paragraph or a table or any element in HTML can apply this. This is a basic example of how we can create animations. In the notes, I will upload this example and some more examples. You practice them. Means some more animation examples I will upload through keyframes, how people create different animations. Those you can practice. You can see and understand easily because now you know all the transitions, all the transforms, you know the animation effects. You can easily understand what they have written there for getting that output, right? Because this completely depends on how you want the presentation to happen, advertisements and all, how they are configured and defined. Actually, this type of animations are earlier done. I told you that by using a software called Flash, but now we are not using that very much. So we are not using that any much because now browsers have disabled that Flash. So we are not using that Flash software anymore. So technically, so we have to do everything with the CSS. Right? These are all CSS related animations, how you can define effects and animations for elements, 2D, 3D and animations. Next important, we have to understand about CSS responsive design. Already we learned several things of responsive design. One more extra options will be there. We have to learn. Already we know how to create a responsive design. Responsive design means content must fit according to device. Content must fit according to device. That means if you are watching on a mobile, if you are watching on a tab, if you are watching on something else, so it should fit onto that device. It should display. Actually, so responsive designs are created by using number one, fluid images, by using fluid grids, and by using another important option is media properties. Fluid images, fluid grids and media properties. In that two things already we learned. Two options already we discussed. Fluid images, fluid gradients and fluid media properties. We have to use media properties, images, grids. Or how to define fluid images? Fluid images are defined with the height and width in percent, in percentage. So height and width in percentage, you have to define that. Already we learned how to do it, img, src. So and width is equal to some 50% and height is equal to 30%. These things already we done. Fluid images we know, and fluid grids are defined by using display flex, by using display flex and flex container, flex container options. Flex container options means flex direction, so flex wrapping, all these are called as flex container options. Already we done this also. So we learned how to design display, how we can create display flex, and how we can configure flex wrap as no wrap. So and like flex direction like row reverse column, all these already we learned. That means already we created responsive designs when we created card, when we created toolbars, all such things we have done. One more we will see, some more options we have to understand here. Now another important is media properties. Media properties use viewport. Media properties use viewport to control. They use viewport to control appearance, to control the appearance of content on screen, appearance of content on screen according to width, height and orientation, according to width, height and orientation, according to width, height and orientation. So based on the width, height and orientation, we can apply the media properties. Let's see how the media properties are used. How we can use the media, because fluid images already we done, fluid grids already we done. We created card style. When you are adjusting the width of window, cards comes to single column, multiple columns. We are already designing them so that content will fit correctly onto the screen. Now media properties are important here. Actually, how the media properties are defined. So at the net media, and they use the option as media type. They define media type, and the media type and properties, media type and media properties, actually media type and media properties. They use media type and media properties, media type and media properties. And the media type is nothing but media type. So already we know it can be screen or it can be print. or it can be speech. Media type can be print, screen, or speech. And media properties can be, generally media properties can be orientation, or it can be orientation, width, height, min width, max width. These are the options. So by using these, you can create responsive designs. So let's see how we can handle that, how we can configure and how we can define this. So the media options, how they are controlled and specified. For example, suppose we are creating a simple navigation here. Let's see. So let's go to the design. Already print and working with screen, I told you in style itself. In style, we have options for that. Style media options we already learned here. See, when you are configuring the effects and defining them, configuring and defining the effects, see, we will design a suitable content also. First, now we are creating a div, or we will create a some nav bar, navigation. And in that we defined an unordered list. In that we have list item. And let's link. So relation is equal to style sheet. Href is node modules, bootstrap icons, font, bootstrap icons, CSS. Now here I am defining a span and a class as BI and some BI Facebook. And here I am writing some span and text as Facebook. Okay. Similarly, I am adding some options here. Right. And this is as Twitter, and this is Instagram, and this is LinkedIn. Okay, like this. And here I am defining same Twitter and Instagram, and we have LinkedIn. Okay. Now you can see these are the options defined. This is the design. Now we want to create a toolbar like appearance. We need to create a toolbar like. So generally to design toolbar like, so we have some effects to configure here. Unordered list, wherever list style, we have to set it to none. That means we are not defining any items for that. And what we are doing here, if the content is watched in orientations, we have two types of orientation. That means if user is watching on screen and he is watching on landscape mode means rotating in a wide way, then the menu should come side by side, because in landscape mode, so a lot of space will be there. Side by side, we want to place those items. And when it comes to portrait mode, then it should come one below another. This is in portrait mode, we want like this. That means when user is rotating his device, mobile or any device, according to that, it should appear. It should change its effect. So we write like this at the net media. What is the media type? Media type is screen. Media type is screen. Okay, then what is the media property? You can directly write only for this. Already we learned for this in CSS itself in the beginning. While writing style itself, we learned. If I say media screen, for screen, I will put color for list item. For list item, I will put color as red. Okay. If it is on printing, that means at the net media, if it is for print, then list item color should be some black, something like this I design. That means the point is on screen, it will appear in red color. But when you go to print, then in the printing, it will be in black color. That means that already we learned, that is not special. So in the first day of styles itself, we learned style have a media attribute. By using media attribute, you can control that. That means this we know. But our point is, if media is screen, this already we learned. If media is screen and we use a property here, that means, and we need to configure end. And here we need to specify orientation. Orientation. Orientation is what orientation? Orientation is landscape. If orientation is landscape, that is the conditions. End indicates both should match. End indicates both should match. That means if this is called media logic, or we call media conditions. Media without conditions means media screen, how it should appear. Media print, how it should appear. Media conditions means it should be screen and its orientation is landscape. If it is screen and landscape, then list item must display as inline. Every list item must display as inline. And for every list item, so margin left, margin right, I will give as margin right for every list item will be some 30 pixel. That means that is the appearance for the orientation. That means in landscape, the orientation should be like this. Rest of design you can create. For example, unordered list, I given as border as 2 pixel, solid, some dark, so dark cyan, something like this. That is the unordered list color. So we are having like padding as 5 pixels. That is unordered list. The padding is there. And we are configuring like border radius as 5 pixels. Then little bit curved corners will be there. Now important is here. So background color as dark cyan. So then color as white. So like this we are defining. That is the navigation bar, like we have configured navigation bar. Basic, just a simple design we created here. So a simple design. This is in landscape mode. Suppose when we go into portrait, then what we have to do is, so we need to write another effect here. So at the net media is screen and orientation is portrait. Yeah. So if it is portrait, then what should happen? Then if it is portrait, then what should happen? The list item, so display must be block. Display must be block. And margin bottom is 30 pixel. And width should be, width can be defined for not only list item. Suppose we have unordered list. Unordered list width must be, suppose 200 pixels. Then unordered list width must be 200 pixels. Because it is having some background color and all, we are configuring that. Now you can see this is normal. Now very important is portrait, how you can see portrait. Suppose if you are watching this on a mobile, or if you are watching this on any device that support portrait, suppose my screen supports portrait, that means I am rotating my screen to portrait, then automatically it should change the appearance, right? And again I am rotating to the landscape, then it will automatically change into this. So that means your device should support, right? You are watching on a mobile, so you are watching on any device, so which supports the orientations, then you can see it clearly. So that means when you are rotating, it will be in one direction. For example, we can do a lot of things. That's what we can see here. See, for example, you have these options. Width, I will set it to 50 pixels. Width I set to 50 pixels. We are setting to 50 pixels. And see, this span have an ID, or we will put a class. The class for that span is, suppose, menu title. That is the class. And menu title is the class same for all of them. The same class, menu title is the class for all of them. Now what should happen is, when it is portrait, the class menu title, it should display none. In portrait orientation, it should display none. It should display none. That means it should not display. It should not display. In that case, and width I adjusted to 50 pixel for that. That means now it looks like this. And when I change the orientation of the device, then it will change into this. It will change into this. Now you don't have any titles. You don't have any titles. Titles will come when I change that orientation to landscape. When I change orientation to landscape, again those titles will display. We can keep transition. That means slowly it will change the transition, it will hide, it will keep. So many things we can do. For example, when it goes to portrait, for unordered list, margin left I given as minus some 60 pixels. Minus 60 pixels, I think it is too different. I will rotate this here. So you can see here, now you can see when I rotate this, this is on portrait, it will be like this now. That means a small bar will come and it should display that menu when mouse pointer is over. That means only bar should come and it should not display. It should display only when mouse pointer is over it. That means here actually you don't need to rotate or do all these things, because just I am showing you the device which supports. Suppose I am adjusting the width now. I am adjusting the width. You can see the width adjustment is not right for it, because we are writing not for display flex. We are writing orientation. Means when they rotate the screen, how it should appear. It's not about the width. Suppose if you want to adjust for width also, you have to write one more effect. I will show you how we can adjust for width also. Currently, our concept is not width. Our concept is orientation. You can test this orientation like this. Go to inspect, and in the inspect, you can see. So at the top, you will find these two buttons. So you can see at the top, you have this button. This is the button. That button is toggle device. Now you can observe, actually, I'm changing the height here. You can see now, this is toggling device. That means here dimensions will be there. 400 pixels and all. According to the mobile screens also, you can adjust them. That means you see, Here you will have options. You see there is an option called show media queries. When I open this media queries, you can see it will display this option. Now the point is very simple. When you are adjusting to portrait, here itself you can see it. That means here itself you can see that happening there. But it is always good to understand and handle that on a device which supports. You can simply try on this also. That means what you can do, you can go to inspect. In the inspect, you can change the device here. You can change the device here. You can see this is the orientation, rotate. There is a small button called rotate at the top. Rotate, this will be portrait. This will be landscape. It will show here. That means when you are rotating, how it is going to display. But important is when you are defining these effects, when you are configuring these effects. So better to test on device that support those orientations. And you see the dimensions automatically giving as responsive. You can test on phone screens. Different phone screens will be there. That means for every phone screen, how it appears, you can test that. These days, browsers will support majority of them. And you can select or you can edit, you can add any one more device. Suppose you are a mobile developer, you are testing on iPhone or you are testing on some other device, that screen. You can add that device and you can directly cast onto the device. Cast onto the device means you can watch that example on the device screen. But for that is all mobile development, you need to understand. You need to know about that in the mobile development. Now here, one more option is there now. What is the option here? Mobile, it looks like this. And when you are adjusting this, it is not going to affect. So affect orientation. I told you orientation is not going to affect. So now here it is like portrait. Now on portrait, when mouse is over, I want to display the menu. Then how you can do? You know that. So initially the portrait. So this is the unordered list. And you have unordered list. What is the option we have to use? Hover. Hover, what we can give? Margin left. Margin left again, how much? 0 pixels. That is nothing but when mouse pointer is over, it should display that. And mouse pointer is out, it should hide it. Hide it. Of course, you know the timings, how to set it, right? That means what we have to do, unordered list. Here we have to use transition. Transition, timing how much? Some 3 seconds. Here transition, transition, timing is 3 seconds. Okay. Now you can see. So when it is portrait, on mouse over, it will display that menu. And when out, then it will hide it. When it will hide it. Adjusting the size, width. So suppose I given as -10 pixel. Because I don't want to come complete. It should stick to that page and display like this. It should stick to the page and display like this. Width of that we can control because we are giving width 50. Suppose I given width 30, that means will be more shorter. But with 30 means it should come little bit here. Margin left I given as 30. It will be like this. So margin left as suppose -40. Okay, then it will be in this way. And when I move the mouse onto it, then it will display the menu and show it in this way. This is the orientation we are displaying for the menu. We can put lot of content. We can put lot of content. That means when it is hiding, we can also put some more other options also. For example, we can keep a heading like menu is here, mouse pointer. Move the mouse pointer onto it. When user moves the mouse pointer onto it, it can display. This is the orientation we are configuring. And once the orientation is changed to portrait, to landscape, then it will set into this way. These are basically done by using media properties. We usually say as media queries. Media queries. Media queries. are configured using conditions. Media queries are configured using conditions. That means at the net, media is screen and orientation, landscape like this, and what effects you want. Or you can also define like at the net, media is screen and orientation, portrait, and it will have these effects. Next options here we have. So media can be screen, and we can configure not only orientation, min width 200 pixel like this, min width some 500 pixel like this we can configure. Or we can also use the options like media screen and max width. What is meant by min width and max width, I will tell you. We will see that point. Difference between width, min width and max width. So sometimes for a fresher, these questions are asked. What is difference between width and min width or max width? So difference between width, min width, max width. Actually, answer is simple. Width defines exact. So width and min width. min width defines from specified width, and max width defines up to specified width, from specified width up to specified width. That is actually min width and max width. I will show you, then you can understand how these options are defined. So first, let's take this example here. I will copy that example that we designed. This is the example. I will upload into the classroom then. So, and these are the options we have. Now, what is width, min width, max width like options means how we can control these things. Actually, suppose I am writing like other options I am configuring. Suppose I am writing another query here. At the net media is screen. And so we are defining min width. Min width is suppose up to 500 pixels. Min width 500 pixels. Then body background color of body I set to yellow. Now what is difference between width and min width? If I say width here, you can write width also. If I say width here, that means actually this is background color is not yellow. I will go to the inspect here, and in the inspect, so I will go to the device here, and see the width here. width I set it to 500 pixels correctly. I need to set to 600 pixels. Width and height we need to adjust, and we need the width to be adjusted from this location. From this location we need to configure, and it should reach exactly 500 width, then the effects will appear. This is not like that. So max width, min width is not like that. If I define min width or max width, usually what happens is, you see, now it is yellow in color. That means what is meant by min width? Min width means, as I told you, min width means from specified width. From specified width. Currently width is 546. And we mentioned min width 500. That means now see, I am adjusting below 500. Then it should change its color. I will show you that. So generally, this is the width. If it is less than 500 pixels, it will be white only. But once you reach 500 pixels, from 500 pixels, its color starts changing to yellow. So 500 pixel, it will change to yellow. That means from 500 pixels, it will be yellow only. Min width means from that specific width, what effects you should have. From that specific width, what effects you should have. That means I am just changing color. You can change orientation, everything now. You can change this bar to horizontal, to vertical, display, inline, display, block. You can control anything. I am just applying the color to show you. That means what is difference between width and min width? Width means exactly on 500 pixel how it should be. And min width means from 500 pixel how it should be. Min width means, so it defines from specified width. From specified width. If I give max width, that means here I am configuring, instead of min width, I am giving max width. Max width 500 pixels. That means what happens is, so up to 500 pixels, it will be yellow. Up to 500 pixels, it will be yellow. So that means up to 500 pixels, it will be yellow. After 500 pixels, it will be white. So that is the difference between min width and max width. So min width defines from specified width. And max width defines up to specified width. Up to specified width means up to that width, how it should appear. After that, how it should appear. That means you can even control the orientation. See, suppose here, up to this, suppose when it reaches 500, it should change to portrait again. Then of course you can control that. That means what we will do here, unordered list, I am just giving list item. List item display as what? Block. That means now what happens? It will be like this. You have to add other effects also. Margin, bottom, width, others also you need to control. Now you can see up to this width, it will be like this. And when I am adjusting the width to 500 pixels, from 500 pixels, it will be like this. You can control other options. That means you have to add all these options how you design. That means all these options I am adding. So here also, all these options I am adding there. That means we designed for landscape and portrait, same we are adding here now. Now it will be like this. And now it doesn't depend, it depends on two things. It depends on orientation also, it depends on width also. Because we return media query for both of them. We return the media query for both of them. We return media query for orientation, and we return the media query for min width and max width. Min width or max width, anything you can configure. So now when you are adjusting the width, after it up to 500, it will be like this. After that, it will normal change to this. This is what actually responsive designs are. That means we are designing according to the screen so that content will not be lost. You don't need to scroll left and right. Remember, scrolling up and down you can't control. Responsive design is only about the width, not about the height, because height mandatory. So you have to scroll up and down. There is no other chance. So this responsive is only to control the width. According to the width of the screen, we need to adjust this. So this is basically how we write the media queries, how we can configure and define the media query. So this is another example for so max width or min width. You can control that. This is an example for that. Same thing. These are the options used in media queries. That means to make responsive designs, we have to handle all this. Next important, in the CSS, we have one more option is CSS gradients. CSS gradients. CSS gradients are simple options here. Serious gradients, already we learned about colors. So gradient colors. So gradient colors are a combination of multiple colors with linear and radial orientation. With linear and radial orientation. So linear will be towards left, right, top or bottom. Radial will be from center. And gradient colors can be applied only with the background as image. Only with background as image you can apply the gradient colors. Actually, we learned about background color and background image. Background colors and background images we learned. So gradient colors is a combination of a mixture of various colors. So we have linear gradients, we have radial gradients. It's very simple point here. Suppose we want to apply color gradients. Just roughly, I will give here for the body section somewhere. Let's take a new file. Yeah, I'm adding some gradient. Yeah, just you can apply for any div, or you can for the body section, head, title, gradients. So in the body section, suppose I'm creating a div. Roughly I given a style. So div, only one div is there, width some 400 and height also some 400 or 350 like this. And we have some border. So border as 1 pixel, solid, some red. Okay. So this is generally one container we are having. We can apply anywhere. One container we are having. We want to apply some effects for this. Means background, I want color gradient. In that we can have some text. We can keep some text. So gradients. So okay. Now I will keep here simple padding 20 pixel, To put gradient colors, generally we know background color, but background color we can apply only color code, color name, RGB, RGBA, hexa codes we can apply. But if you want multiple colors, then we have to apply by using background image. Background image, now you have gradients like linear gradient. Linear gradient. Linear gradient, now you have to tell the colors, your wish, 2 colors, 3 colors, 4 colors, 1 color, anything. One color will not show much linear gradient. Suppose I am giving one is red, another one is yellow, 2 colors linear gradient for the background image. And you can see that linear gradient will be like this. That is gradient colors. Gradient colors. Suppose I want that red color little bit transparent, or little bit light shade. Here instead of that, you can keep RGB. You can keep RGB, you can keep RGBA, you can keep hexadecimal. It will be like this. It will be in this way. Now here we have the options like this is linear, not only 2 colors, you can apply 3 colors. So you can apply 4 colors. So your wish. And those will be applied there. So those will be applied there. So linear gradients, and here we can also use the directions like to right. We are adding like to right. So from right to right, like so from right. So like this we can add. I will show you those. Generally, first linear gradients means orientations. I will tell you first. This is so different color combinations I'm adding with the brightness. Let's adjust this like this, and you can see these shades will be applied. That's what you have seen. This is linear gradient. So you have seen Netflix page. In the Netflix page, you have seen that center is little bit light and outside it is darker. We call those as radial gradients. That means 2 types of gradients are there. One is linear gradient, and another one is radial gradient. Radial gradient. 2 types of gradients will be there, linear and radial gradients. How you can configure linear gradient? Linear gradients means directions you can give like to right, like to left, so like to top, to bottom. Like this we can add the effects. You can also write like to top left, to top right, like this, to bottom left, to bottom right. I told you background directions are there. Similarly, you can configure that. So linear gradients are that. That means, see, so we have to additionally define that. So I am adding here. Suppose I am writing here as a to right, like this. To right is a gradient will be like this. That means towards right side, vertical it is applying. Suppose we want to right top, that means we have to define to right top. To right top, it will be in this way. Direction will be changing for that. The direction will be changing towards right top, towards bottom. You can change instead of linear gradient. That means just one example for linear gradient is this. Similarly, the same thing you can apply by using another one. Another option you can apply by using radial gradient. Radial gradient also same. Suppose we have yellow, we have some red colors here, and you can see radial gradient will be like this. That means towards the center. So you can configure the gradients and define the gradient. So radial gradient will apply like this. So radial gradient, so it will be to center. So you can say to offset. Offset means it will be to outside. So here note is you can apply multiple colors with color name, color code, color hexacode and RGB and RGBA. You can use all of this. RGBA, you know that RGBA is nothing but alpha. So you can also define the percent of color. The percent of color. You can also define the percent of color to apply. Actually, suppose you see here, that means in this gradient, so yellow and red are there. And what we are doing here, so red here I given as 20% like this. Red 20%, then you can see will be like this. Here we can add yellow as suppose 20%. That means it will be in this way. Shade will change. Suppose I am adding this for 50%, then it will be in this way. We need combination of both of them. One 50%, another should be 20%, 70%, like that. We have to share between 100. But this percent will give you the solid colors. Solid color means mixing shades we want, then you have to give transparency. You cannot give solid color. You need to give the transparency of the colors. You need to set the transparency, because when you are setting percentage, then you have to keep the transparency in the colors. Otherwise, they will look like solid blocks. So you can adjust that. Without this, we can remove the percentage and it will display in this. In linear or gradient, anywhere you can define. And we want some solid color here. So that is, suppose this color I am giving as black. This color I am giving as white. So, and you can see it uses the combination in this. And I want transparency for the black, then RGBA. We have to use A. And here last value will be how much? 0.5. That means it will keep the black color little transparent. So that if in the body section, if you are having any background, so that means body, we are having some background image. Background image URL is from assets, some Netflix back.jpg. That means it will be displayed in the background transparent. We have to use that combination. Already this type we already worked with, right? But here now we can apply through gradient colors. You can apply through the gradient colors. The gradient colors will allow you to put the combination in that way. Width and height you need to adjust. That means you have center white. The center brightness you can adjust by using this little bit grayish or yellowish. That means it will be in this way. Percentage of that you can increase. These are all combinations of how we can apply the gradients. So for this syntactically like this, means percentage how we can give is radial radial gradient, some we can write like yellow, some 20%, and red some 80%. Like this you can write, you can configure how to define the gradient colors and specify them. Now sometimes in interviews they ask this question, like suppose I am watching on mobile, I want a different background picture, and if I am watching on desktop or laptop, different background picture, you can change now na? That means when it is portrait, you can put one background image. When it is landscape, you can put another background image. That means can background image change? With media queries you can change. If width is this much, one background, another background. We applied only for ordered list and list. You can apply for background images anywhere you can apply. I applied only for the background color na? You can change background image, you can put gradients, you can put colors, effects, all these are applicable now. We can make them change according to situation. These are all important things you need to understand with the CSS attributes. Now once you know the CSS attributes, now you need to know how to do this work faster, because this is so much time consuming, right? Because now you as a developer, you need to know the techniques. After knowing the techniques, you should not waste time, because in software development already we discussed that time is very important. We don't want to show our creativity. Nobody cares. In a project, a work is given to you, you have to do the work. So how you done the work, how much hard work you done, nobody cares in software companies. So in that case, we should not waste time in writing all these effects. We need to see for more shortcuts for this, so that with less features, we can apply all these type of effects. For that, we need to go into the concept of bootstrap. We need to see now how the bootstrap is used, how bootstrap works, and with bootstrap, how we can make this presentation more better. What is bootstrap, how it affects, and all these things we will see. That we'll see in our next session. Tomorrow we will do that. Okay. In tomorrow's session, we will start working with the bootstrap, right? Yeah.